and
Good
I'm
to
going to
see you.
Good to
Speak
see you
up.
too. Okay, I'll try to speak up a little bit.
Great. That's better.
Got this mask on. There you go. I'm going to tag team with your questions earlier, Madam Chair, and Mr. Burrell, if you'll help me out here. I agree with Ms. Eshue that there were some suppliers in the country for PPE, and that we need to have more domestic production. That being said, I need help, and the committee needs help. We need to figure out, assuming that we can't bring all the production necessary for the United States back to the United States, what percentage, and you may not have an answer today, but I want us to work on this going forward, what percentage of our nation's needs when it comes to whether it be PPE or, as Dr. Borio mentioned, filters dealing with the manufacturing of vaccinations, et cetera, what percentage of that needs to be in the United States? And then as a sidebar to that, we were having a discussion here that, we had that problem when Puerto Rico got hit by the storms, and what percentage of that then needs to be split up so that we're not being hit by various storms. I mean, different parts of the country have different issues, but it would seem to me we need to make sure that we have a diversity of geographic locations. But I do think on these important matters, we need to have production in the United States, knowing that we probably could have done better before. What could we do better going forward, and what percentage is necessary to be on our home territory, whether it be one of our territories like Puerto Rico or Micronesia or wherever it is that we need to have, where we can get our hands on it when we need it.
Sir, I appreciate the question. I'm going to have to come back to you with some thoughts on percentages or possibly other measures we might consider about what should be manufactured here. But I think it's absolutely vital. We made efforts to invest in the vaccine infrastructure, as Governor Leavitt discussed. I think we've got to make investments at the federal level in the PPE infrastructure, because regardless of what pandemic event hits us again in the future, and I'm sure there will be another, we've got to be better prepared. So we need to encourage people to enter the PPE market that are not currently in it. We need to encourage those that currently manufacture PPE to do that. And I agree with your discussion of the, for example, the small saline bags that were manufactured only on Puerto Rico. We cannot limit ourselves to a single manufacturer or a single location geographically. We must have diversity.
Well, I appreciate that. And let me say that in relationship to the PPE infrastructure, earlier this year, we had a hearing where we had some of those people in. In fact, it must have been pretty early because I think we were live here in the room. And they said if the federal government would just issue contracts to purchase it, we don't necessarily need to buy the equipment, but if we said we were going to buy a certain amount of PPE, they felt like they could ramp up much easier. And in my district, several folks came forward. I know one is going to continue long term. I don't know if the others are, to make masks and to make other PPE, and they're ready to go. But if the market were to suddenly drop out, we'd be back in the same boat we were in before. So I think that is important. Do you agree with that, Dr. Burrell or Mr. Burrell?
Sir, I do agree with that. I think that once we create more market, more manufacturing capability for these things in the United States, we've got to continue to support that market, or the bottom will drop out again and we will have wasted investment. So my concern here is that we have a diversity of suppliers. We bring other people into the pipeline. And one thing I would encourage your thoughts about are, it is difficult to hold this PPE because it's large, it occupies a lot of space. Maybe we need to hold bridge stocks and then have capability to turn directly, immediately to domestic manufacturers to bring in rapid surge directly to where the government would direct, or directly to fill behind government needs.
And Dr. Bory, I want to get one more question to Mr. Burrell, but if you could think about it, and we might ask you to answer that question after this hearing because my time is almost up. Mr. Burrell, you specifically mentioned in your testimony the need to engage all commercial healthcare distributors and manufacturers. You referenced the single vaccine distributor. Are you aware of other situations in which additional parties stand ready to partner with federal, state, and local governments?
Sir, I believe that most parties involved in the typical day-to-day healthcare supply chain are very much prepared to partner with the federal government. We have a system that operates every day. And if we make ourselves take advantage of all aspects of that everyday operating, planning, and distribution system, I think we'll have a better, stronger result going forward. as we see
appreciate that.
vaccines
I
increase.
appreciate that.
that'll be-
Yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
going to have to cut you off because I do want to say one last thing, and my time is just out. Dr. Borio, you always are so good to give us testimony in this committee, and I always appreciate it. So I apologize I didn't get to you live today, but I would love to see some of your thoughts after this meeting is over. Thank you so much, and Madam Chair, I yield back.
I thank the gentleman, and I just want to say I look forward to working with you on the supply chain. In my book, it should be all American. This business of maybe we should do this and then be dependent on so-and-so, I just, excuse the expression, I just don't buy that.
We certainly need to have a big percentage of it here. Yes, ma'am.
Exactly. We guaranteed a market for the pharmaceutical companies to buy vaccines. So if we can do that, we can certainly promise a market for American manufacturers of American products to be used by the American people in their hour of need. So thank you very much. And now recognize the gentleman from Vermont.